I really wanted to cover, which was your personal journey, the 37 years. I think you talk about this thing that, the beginnings were almost in some way that you wanted to belong, right? Could you just get us started on that? I'm just very curious to.
Listen, I think it is no secret. I've said it before. When I was in business school, I was studying in Jamnalal Bajaj. I would look at this company across the road, and it was by then the most
Coveted.
admired and respected
Mm,
organization.
mm,
There were many leaders from this company who would come and were visiting faculty, and I would sit and listen. If only could I even make it through those doors? Will I ever get selected? Such was the awe and admiration in which I held this organization. Yeah? When I made it to that organization, I remember that before making it, I used to look at these visiting faculty and who would come in and say, "My God, if I made it, and one day if I ever got to that level, I would think it would be the most incredibly successful career that I've had." And by God's grace, I did make it to the company. And having made it to the company, my thoughts weren't in terms of how high I will rise. I was, um, I was just fiercely determined to make sure that the company doesn't find that it was a wrong selection. Huh? That I wasn't in statistical terms. I'd forgotten whether it's a type 1 or a type 2 error, but one of those where you take someone thinking is good and turns out that not as good as you thought he was. I didn't want to be that.
That's where it
That's
started.
where it started.
Yeah.
So I and everyone around me, and many of them, or most of them, had come in with an educational pedigree which was exceptional. Many of them might have believed that this was just a natural next step for them to be a part of this organization. It wasn't for me. So I wanted to demonstrate that I belong here, that I fit in, that I'm not a that I haven't luckily made it here. So first couple of years was simply put your head down, don't think about anything else, work hard, and focus on what you need to do.
Do you think when you look back, Nitin, it seems to me that that's actually a great um, mindset to have as well, right? That uh, you know uh, that sense of entitlement can produce underperformance in some way. That hunger and the desire to hold somebody else's decision true would drive performance.
Yeah, I think I didn't start off with that in mind,
Yep.
but much later I did realize that this mindset helps. And so when I was more senior and I would go and address management trainees, etc., in the induction week, I would often uh, tell them that everyone's question would be, what do I do? How do I plan my career? Where do I want to get to? And I want to get to this place in so many years. And I would say to them that your best chance of getting what you want is not worrying about your next job, but focusing on today's job. Yeah. And everyone would say, no, no, but don't I have to plan? So I said, listen, you may be very bright. Yeah, probably and certainly brighter than me, but you're not that bright that with half your mind focused on the next job and only half your mind focused on today's job, you will do a better job than all the others around. Hmm? Therefore, the people who put 100% of their attention on their current job do well. They do well, they get their next job. And ironically, the people who wanting to plot said, oh shit, somebody else has gone ahead. Maybe I need to plan and plot my career a little better. So you see how perverse this whole thing becomes.
Yes.
And yeah, so focus. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't have a broad idea of where you want to go and what skills you want to develop. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
This obsession with where do I want to get to? What do I want to do? What's my next job? How will I get there in 5 years? What's happening? Somebody else went ahead. This is ridiculous. Just do what you have to do. That doesn't guarantee that you'll become a CEO or anyone else, but it guarantees that you'll get to the best that is possible for the potential that you have.
That you have,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and that's all that we can hope for.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. And when you, Nitin, when you look at this long career, are there moments like,
You see, I came in and I was also blessed that I had many, blessed to have mentors. Many of them have been mentors through my life, including today. But in my early years, first 4, 5 years, 6 years, there have been simple incidents which have shaped me quite significantly. And I don't think any of them would have realized the effect that they had on me at that moment
while it was up.
while it was happening. So I give you an example.
Yeah.
I must have been the brand manager in my first year. I just finished my sales stint, and Vindi Banga was my boss. And at the end of that year, he had to. There was a performance feedback session, and he called me to his room and said a few things. And I don't know why. He simply wasn't. He simply made a statement. Nitin, you know what? Intelligence is a great quality. It will get you far. But intelligence combined with humility is an irresistible quality. Yeah. He just said that
Just they comment.
just as a general comment. It wasn't a feedback to me specifically
Right.
or anything like that. The conversation went elsewhere.
Right.
And it ended. And I walked out of that room and said, wow, why did he say that?
Right.
Is there a sense that I was getting a little arrogant?
Right.
Yeah. Is he observing something and his way of cautioning me? And it stayed with me. That one line that he mentioned stayed with me. And as that line stayed with me, I could look around me and find exceptionally bright people who somehow at some stage, hmm, either becoming a little too cocky, a little too arrogant, uh, and not getting as far as I thought they would get. So that was one example. Or the other example, hmm, which is the other mentor, which is Harish Manwani. And I remember in that same, a year later or something, I'd written a proposal. And I'd sent it to him. You still sent pieces on paper.
Yeah, printed.
Printed paper and printed. And the paper didn't come back. So a few days later, I saw him and he was passing by the corridor. I said, Harish, there was that proposal which I'd sent. I haven't heard from you. And maybe he was going to the washroom, so he was in a hurry. So he again had this one liner which I say, Nitin, I'd seen it. And he says, you know what, it's short of your usually high standards. Yeah. He just said that one line and he walked away. So in that one line, I go back and said he did something quite remarkable again. So by saying usually high standards, he made me feel good.
Right.
Yeah. That I'm capable of
Right.
with some good stuff. But equally, he was saying that was a piece of rubbish, Richard.
It is a beautifully framed sentence.
Yeah.
I'll steal that.
It was not okay. That's what he was telling me.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what-
no.
Yeah.
Then I went back and says, how do I think of myself? Do I think of myself? Is that how I want anyone to react to a piece of paper that I've written? I said, I might not always produce the finest, but it must be the best that I can produce. I don't want to be a chalta hai guy, somehow get by. And because the name you put down at the end, you must feel proud about putting your name on any piece of work that you've got.
Yeah.
So that was the second instance which suddenly said, hey, no more. That's not going to be me. Now that doesn't guarantee that my output will be better than everyone else. But it does guarantee that I can hold my head high. I did my best.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's all I can do.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing more I can do about.
Right.
So I give you these very small instances because I don't think Harish would remember it. I don't think Vindi would remember it. I don't think they did it saying this is a deep lesson I'm going to impart which can shape this young man's future. But these two made a difference to me. Now, there might have been many others which have missed many signals, etc. But these two made. Or, for example, Mr. Dadi Seth. Yeah, there was absolutely no reason for him. But I was a brand manager. He was my boss's boss. But from time to time, he would call me and say, just come, Nitin, just sit in the room, sit on the side. I'm going to be having this conversation with some banker who has come in, some M&A discussion is having. Hmm? They just sit and observe. Hmm? At the end of the day, say, what happened? What do you think? And then he would offer one or two comments, etc. Now, point I'm making is everyone has a different style,
Yeah.
different ways of doing this. And I benefited from all of these in my very formative years. I had the good fortune of different people who made a difference to me.
Yeah. Scenarios or situations where it dealt with failure, it like
Yeah,
along the
see,
way.
there's several, but there is one that I particularly call out. The first few were small instances which leave an impression on you, the
Yeah.
comments made.
Yeah.
But over a 35-year career, if I was to just step back
Yeah.
and think of those big, almost seminal
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences which shape your overall business philosophy, life lessons, then I would call out probably two. Hmm? One of them is a failure. Hmm? Now it wasn't my only failure. I failed a few times, but it was my first failure, and it was a big failure.
Which year?
It was in 2001 to 2003 in that period.
By then you've had a substantial
Yeah,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it became particularly hard because I had almost 13, 14 years when I was doing well.
Yeah.
Some would say even very well.
Yeah.
Yeah?
87 to 2001.
Correct.
Yeah.
And while I've always felt that I've been reasonably grounded and things of that sort, but 13, 14 years of success, not having experienced what it means to fail, yeah, is a difficult way to get into
Right.
first failure. So that's the first one. And the second I describe as a chance encounter with a professor which encouraged me to carry out many human experiments. And through those experiments, just gave me a certain insight into human behavior, human potential, and shaped my outlook towards what leaders should do and what is the real role, etc. So I'd probably, maybe I'll talk about the failure first.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
The year was 2001. 14 years, as I just mentioned, I'd been successful. It came into a role.
Mm.
And without sounding immodest, if 14 years, if I hadn't failed and missed targets, the next year or two, there was not a single number that I committed I was able to deliver. Yeah.
And it
And
came out of the blue.
out of the blue. So I come here. I knew it was a tough assignment,
Mm.
which I was getting into.
Mm.
But
In the country, outside of country?
back, I was in London in 99,
Okay.
2000, and I'd just come back.
Okay.
And I knew it was tough. But you know what? I said, I've succeeded, I've done it, I'll fix it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I set out on a goal. By April, it was clear that no chance. And then you revise your number and no chance. And there's a target and a next estimate and a next estimate. Not a single thing I was able to deliver. I tried, and this wasn't for want of trying, I tried every trick in the trade that I'd learned. I worked hard. And it reached a stage where I was getting sleepless nights. I would wake up at 3:34 in the morning simply at a loss of not knowing what else to do. And I went through the usual phases that you go through. Hmm? First, of course, was I'm sure in the early month denial of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
Then
Yeah.
I'm a victim. I didn't get it. It was a big problem. Somebody else's problem. I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
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 But along with all of that, I also started waking up in the night when I struggled with self-doubt. My my confidence, my belief was at rock bottom. I asked myself, was I really as good as I thought I was, as what people made me uh, feel that I was? And I was really at my wits' end. And I don't know. I don't know how long I could have continued in that mental state. And there was one morning at around 3:34, I again woke up, could not sleep. And in a bizarre way, something snapped.
Mm-hmm.
Something snapped and I gave up. Hmm. Or surrendered, gave up. No, I would say gave up is the wrong word. I surrendered. And surrendered I use not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of not worrying about what the outcome will be. Too much of my mind was, I'm failing, I'm not getting the outcome, I'm not getting there. I said, don't worry. Just go and do what you think is right. And so I went without worrying about anything else. And, life is also strange. The moment I was less worried about the outcome, yeah, I probably started doing things differently. I started doing different things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the outcome started coming. Hmm? And when the outcome started coming, I said, what happened? Why is it that it took me 15 months, 18 months to figure? Was it that complicated a problem? Would it require 15, 18 months to figure out what was required to be done? And the answer was no, it wasn't complicated at all. Then why did it take me that long? Hmm. And the answer was simple. I was simply not willing to see and confront the reality. I thought I was too smart. I thought I could find some cute answer to solve it. I thought I could use tactics to address what was a strategic and structural problem. And you can't do that. I was trying to find shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to structural solutions. And in a weird sort of way, I had forgotten something that I had always believed in a naive sort of way growing up. Yeah, I had a simple belief. You do the right things, the right outcomes will follow.
Yeah.
People will say I've been overly naive, but that's how I was, and that's how I am. I believed that. And shame on me, for 18 months, I did anything but the right thing. I was using tactics instead of strategy. I was not confronting. I didn't do the right things. No wonder their answers didn't follow. And when I started doing the right things, naturally the things followed. And my belief system used to be so strong. I used to use an analogy even on my that doing the right things is like gravity. Every time when you drop it, it falls down.
Yeah.
So also you do the right thing, the right outcomes will follow sooner or later.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. So that was less. So the first lesson that I learned after all of that was always do the right thing. The right outcomes will follow.
Nitin, if I can pause you for a minute on that, and we'll come back to this so that we can go into your second piece. A overwhelming majority of leaders would go through a stage like this, not once but multiple times, maybe. Um, from what I generally have observed, many of them don't take the time to reflect. Do you do that as a, like, in your, you know, this little thing that you mentioned, that you took the time to think about what were you not doing right? It That doesn't happen often by structure, or
See, I can't comment on anyone else, but a lot of my learning comes from less from reading 100 books, but more from reflecting
do you do
what
that
I've done.
consciously?
No, it's just second nature now, I guess. Yeah, I don't think it's a conscious period that I will stop and do this. It's just, I guess, a habit formed over a long periods of time. So that was probably my first lesson and a reminder. And I have to say, every time I have steered away from doing the right things, I've paid a price.
Hmm. Hmm.
I paid a price. The second was actually just a new lesson for me. The first one was a reminder of what I'd believed in. The second one was, however expensive a solution might seem, the cheapest it will ever be is now.
Could you repeat that?
However expensive it might seem, the cheapest it will be is now. What does that mean?
Hmm.
Why did I not confront the problem the way it was? Because it required something structural. We had to do something on product quality, on pricing. It wasn't running a promotion or a trade activity which was going to solve something. Hmm? And I was shying away from it because it was expensive.
Yeah.
It had a big impact.
Yeah. Or you didn't want to
I
deal
didn't
with
want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I thought I could be, I'm so smart, I can
Yeah,
do it.
you'll figure out
I'll figure out
yeah,
another way.
another way. Yeah.
But the point is, by not confronting that issue,
Interesting.
12, 18 months, the problem had become bigger. So if I thought it was expensive then, it
It
is
is.
even more expensive now. Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. So confront it. Yeah. So that was my second lesson that I learned.
However uncomfortable it may be, I think it is just, I feel, yeah, discomfort just thinking about it.
The third to me was never externalize a problem. See, I went through that stage. Denial, victim mode, yeah. And it's not helpful. So I said, never externalize it. Never a victim, never in denial. Is a great, not just a business mantra, but a life lesson for us to embrace.
It's so rare to see that, though.
It is tough.
It is tough. And the other issue is, and if you could sort of elaborate on that, Nitin, the other issue that I see is the self awareness or the lack of it amongst people, that they're going through that phase, right? How does one like deal with that?
I don't know. I think too often we are too worried about how others see us. We are pulling wool over other people's eyes, so much so that we are pulling wool over our own eyes, not willing to see things the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but whom are we hiding? Others can see through everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, it is what it is. So, that was my third. And the fourth lesson, if any, was that you are not your result, either good or bad.
Explain that.
So, too much, why was I so anxious? Why was I so shattered? Because I associated myself with this. Why was my belief and self confidence almost in tatters at that moment? Hmm? Because I associate myself with that outcome.
Mm.
It is me.
Mm.
But the truth is, it is only when you understand that you are not your result. It's just a bad outcome that has happened. You have to deal with it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to take accountability for it. Yeah? I have to take accountability for it. But it is only that which allows you to retain your belief and self confidence when your chips are down. And in the absence of belief and self confidence, there's no chance you will solve the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you need that.
Brilliant point.
Yeah. You need that. For if you need that, you cannot let your confidence and belief. Now, is not about being arrogant and self confident. It requires introspection, it requires inputs. All of that is fine. But you have to believe that you will find a way to get there. And that your best chance of that is when you don't get so closely
You
associated.
got to dissociate and
That's what.
create that.
But that's not just about failure.
Yeah.
It's also true when things are going well. You are not your result.
Which is the more difficult of
The
the
problem is
Yeah.
when things are going well, I did it.
Yeah.
Things are not there, environment,
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
But let's get real. Listen, environment, context helped me get many things done in the past. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
This is not just me. So it is this belief that allows you to go through the tough times without getting shattered and remaining grounded
Even.
when things are going well.
Yeah.
So those really would be the
And if, on a lighter way, I'm just thinking about it, that the success one is more difficult because in failure you would most likely be alone. But in success, you will have many others who are competing for space and trying to grab whatever it is, right? So to dissociate in success, it's even more difficult.
Yeah. Again, what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to suggest that behave in a manner as if you've had nothing to do with that success. Of course, you've contributed. Of course, you've done well. You've made it. But you've done what's required exactly and worked hard, find answers. It's worked well. Feel good about it, but don't let it get to your head.
Yeah.
Other times, you've done all of that and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
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 And just learn to accept it.
Yeah.
Learn from it, figure out what you might not have done and move ahead. So it's hard, but I keep saying from my first failure, I said, I spent many sleepless nights. I probably started losing hair. But but we can all afford a few failures if you ever forget the lessons.
Yeah.
Our problem is we make the same mistakes again and again and again because we don't remember those lessons.
Another thing that I must tell you, not saying because you're just sitting in front, is how well you've been able to distill
Mhm.
the fundamental reason behind a particular event, that clarity around, whether failure, success, another, just your ability to go a couple of levels deeper and analyze why that must be happening, and separate the outcome versus the reason behind.
Yeah. But
It's,
again, I keep calling them out because the next time when I go through this, I will be tempted. I will be at a little bit of denial, a little bit of victim mode.
yeah,
But reminding yourself of this just helps you keep that in check and not get overboard. That's
yeah,
about it. So it's
absolutely.
not as if I certainly haven't mastered any of these, but the more you keep reminding yourself some of this, you get a little better.
Yeah,
A little
absolutely.
better. That's all.
Yeah, 100% agree. And, if at times it's very difficult to, as they say, analyze self. So if you're surrounded by people also who can do that once in a while for you, you're in a company where there is enough, like the whole, I think you've spoken about the whole, I guess we'll go into that in a bit, is the psychological safety where somebody can go and say, call that out. It just helps as a environment. So, Nitin, another area that I want to go slightly deeper with you is, you've had a like fantastic 3.5, almost 4 decades of professional journey. What would be great is to sort of talk a little bit about what shaped your philosophy around, the whole shaping a business, building it, growing it. Just talk a little bit about, the philosophy and how you've seen this come out.
Listen, a lot of it is really shaped by your own personal values, beliefs, etc., which you have growing up. And the rest of it is your experiences as you go through um, different roles
Yeah,
as you're working.
yeah.
All have had a role and have had made a difference to me. But I'd probably call out one which happened at a stage where um, I had just become the CEO of the company.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Which you
probably this 2008,
mm-hmm.
and I cannot tell you um, how I felt at that moment. It was more than a dream come true, and
And that's just 20 years in the company. 20,
that's
21.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. So I just become the CEO of the company. Quite unexpected in terms. I certainly didn't expect it, and clearly my boss took a big bet at that moment. And at that time, when I was feeling, I keep saying it felt like a honeymoon. Hmm?
Mm.
And we all know honeymoons don't last. Huh? And this one didn't too. But honeymoons also don't have to end in a nightmare.
Yeah,
Mine was about to end in a nightmare. And that's the context of this experience that I'm going to talk about.
sure.
And those of us who remember 2008 and 2009, we had the global
Right.
financial crisis
Yeah,
which took place.
yeah.
Huh? And from a moment, from a time when I was feeling on top of the world, we had this situation where the financial crisis took place. And while India was spared the worst in many ways, even so, we had these extreme fluctuations in commodity costs, etc. Markets collapsed, growth wasn't happening. And here was I, a rookie CEO, in having to find a solution. And I had absolutely no idea what to do. So this was probably another time that I was confronted with a challenge. I was getting sleepless nights,
And this time you're at the top of
the
the,
top.
yeah,
And in my earlier periods, I've gone through that. And in a way,
yeah,
I was somewhat better prepared to deal with this because I had experienced some form of failure before.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That said, we still had to find a way to step
yeah.
up growth and get out of this situation that we found ourselves. And at that moment, I cannot explain why or how. A memory of an incident which had taken place 10 years ago in 1999, yeah, came back to me.
Mm.
I'd never thought of it for 10 years. And at that moment, with my back to the wall, not knowing what to do, this memory comes back. And what was that? That was this chance encounter with the professor, as I talk about. The
Mm.
professor in question was the late Professor C.K. Prahalad. He was then on the board of the company. And in 1999, after one of the board meetings for which he was here, he had chosen to call a few young managers, I was still considered young then, to, to talk to us. And he had asked a very simple question. What do you think this company needs more of to be a better company than it is? And we were young, and all of us responded quickly about being more entrepreneurial, taking more risk, etc., etc. And he kept asking, what does that mean? What's the difference between an entrepreneur and a manager? So, pardon, this is the longest story. So,
yeah,
it
please.
is very significant.
Yes, please.
It's important to give the explanation
Yes.
and what happened as a consequence of that. So he asked this question, what's the difference between an entrepreneur and a manager? And we gave those answers. They didn't satisfy him. He was a professor, so he walks back in that boardroom. There was a flip chart, picks up a pen and writes two alphabets, A and R. And in the row below, he runs again, writes A and R. The first equation, he said, is A equal to R. And the equation below, he writes A substantially greater than R. And looks at us as if this explained everything. It meant nothing to us. Went on, he teased us a bit, but went on to explain that when A is equal to R, that's a managerial mindset, and A substantially greater than R is an entrepreneurial mindset. And he said that the only difference between a manager and an entrepreneur is the relationship between these two alphabets, A and R, where A stood for ambition and R stood for resource.
Amazing.
And he went on to say, just think about it, and we reflected. The number of times I would have been in conversations with my boss who would have said to me, I'm going to cut your budgets, marketing budgets. And I would have said, yeah, reduce my targets.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you less people, reduce my numbers.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to give you more resources. Sure, I can achieve a little more.
Yeah.
This response is a response where intuitively we've accepted a relationship between ambition and resource.
Yeah.
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 To change one, you have to change the other.
Yeah.
And then Professor Prahalad said there is no entrepreneur who will ever allow there to be a relationship between A and R. They usually have a penny in their pocket but aim of going to the moon.
Yeah.
And they have the capacity to live with this fundamental mismatch between ambition and resource and are comfortable with it. When you are in a managerial mindset and your boss does this to you, you feel troubled, you feel weighed down, you feel bogged down, you feel unfair, you feel like a victim.
Yeah.
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 But the difference between ambition and resource in an entrepreneur's mind is comfortable. He lives with it.
Yeah.
And it is that difference and that living with it which does something. It leads to innovation. It leads to finding new ways of using that resource such that that inequality becomes an equality.
Yeah.
That's how breakthrough thinking happens.
Yeah.
And what does an entrepreneur do? When he's found that idea, or she has found that idea, when A becomes equal to R, the person changes the ambition again.
Yeah.
Always living with this mismatch between ambition and resource is the hallmark of an entrepreneurial mind. And we heard this, and then he says, you know what? A necessary condition for any innovation is a mismatch between ambition and resource. Because when A is equal to R, all you need is efficient execution.
Amazing.
That's all that you need, efficient execution.
Yeah.
And we went back thinking, holy shit. There are so many people in the organization whose titles say Chief Innovation Officer, Chief Innovation Manager, but the mindset brought to the job is a managerial mindset where A is equal to R.
Yeah.
How can we have breakthrough innovation? That's what he said. Now we walked out of that room, all of us super impressed. But shame on me, and that I almost dismissed it, saying he's a professor, he's meant to come up with these wonderful frameworks and these lovely things, and I didn't do anything about it for 10 years.
This is 99 when you
first heard it.
Yeah.
And 10 years,
yeah,
this was out of my memory. And I don't know why. Serendipity has a role to play. And this memory of this incident came back to me in 2009. And when your back is to the wall and you have no other, you don't know what else to do.
Roots of it.
You don't see any route to solve.
Yeah.
You are willing to do foolish things or stupid things or try.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I said, who knows? Let me try. Try what? It sounded good in theory that a mismatch between ambition and resource will generate creativity and get innovation and we'll get something. does it really work in practice, or that was just a nice sounding thing?
Theory. Yeah.
So we said, let's try, because I had nothing else to do. Now we tried in which area? We wanted to get growth. Now, how do you get growth? I couldn't wait for the next magic bullet of some breakthrough innovation. So I don't know why, but the answer which came to the mind was, let's try and drive distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Go deeper than what you're going today with your existing products. You'll get some more growth.
Yeah.
Huh?
Core
Let's-
thing for an FMCG
Yeah.
anyway.
You'll get some more growth.
Yeah.
And we were desperate.
Yeah.
Now, but it wasn't so easy, because HLL or HUL had the deepest distribution already.
Yeah.
We were physically going to 1 million stores with our people every week and distributing product. The next best would have been about 700,000. And yet, every year, we were the sorts we will keep increasing. We used to add 25,000 stores every single year,
Mm-hmm.
despite being in the lead, so that we maintained our lead
Right. On that base of million.
on the base of the million.
Yeah.
So the question which came is, what would be an audacious goal? 2025 we add every year. Is it 40,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 80,000? Is it 100,000? What is audacious? Yeah, which we should work towards in this year. Now again, I can't explain why, but the number which came to the mind was 500,000. Yeah. We're laughing. I'm sure everyone else laughed as well when they first heard it, saying this is stupid, he doesn't mean it.
Yeah. And you're at the top. You're setting the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time they left it saying it
Yeah.
as just a loose comment made.
Yeah.
But I probably repeated it the next day
Yeah.
and the third day, at which point I guess many things would have happened. A coffee machine conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just
I
say,
can almost visualize that.
he was quite okay till a few months ago, but this is what senior leadership positions do to people. They lose perspective, they lose things. All of this would have happened.
Yeah.
But I stayed with it. And it's stupid. By the way, this whole story as I'm narrating sounds really stupid. But this is what happened.
Inspiring.
Yeah. And at some stage, people realize I'm not going to let go of something I'm saying. And they gave me 10 reasons as to why it is not a sensible thing. It can't happen. I said, yeah, you're probably right. But how cool would it be if we tried to go for 500,000? Well, outlets existed.
Yeah.
It's not as we were going to create outlets.
Yeah.
And probably the thing that was working for us at that moment is everyone's heart was bleeding for the company. We all wanted the right thing. We wanted the growth. So at some stage, instead of fighting this, give it a shot. Nobody expected, least of all me, of us getting, forget 500,000. I didn't even expect 100,000. Even if you had got 70, 80,000 outlets that year, we would have all been heroes. Yeah. But I said, how cool would it be to work towards this? Within a month or two, I started seeing something felt different in the company. Something was different in the company. I couldn't put my finger on it. Month or two later, I could sense a different energy, a buzz. The conversations were of a different sort. And somebody said something, nobody was beating it, however stupid it sounded. You weren't destroying it. You will say, Are, but what else can I build? Can I add? Can I fix this? Something had changed. There was a different energy. And in that setup, in 5 or 6 months, someone came up with a breakthrough idea, which we suddenly said, holy shit, if we pull this off, maybe you could get, may not be fine, but we could go very, very far. By the month of October or so, 8, 9 months, I said, maybe we will even get there.
Wow.
And that year we got to that number. I couldn't explain it. These were the same people. They were busting their backsides even earlier. They were doing it now.
Yeah.
There were no more resources.
Yeah.
What would allow someone who were doing 20, 25,000 to get to 500,000? I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand it, but I didn't want to let go of it.
Yeah.
So when the normal response would have been, let's consolidate these 500, let's build business in this. I said, I don't know what the limit is. Let's try another 500,000. So the second year.
The next year.
Yeah. The next year, another 500,000. That year, there was some pushback from some, but some people had tasted success. And they were saying, let's go for it. That year, we got 630,000. Yeah?
On a
So we
target
were,
of 500. So you went about 20% higher, 26%.
whatever.
Yeah.
And the third year, I still didn't know what was happening. But I didn't want to stop. So I said, If I'd said another 500, eyebrows also may not have been raised. So I said 1 million in 1 year. So and people went after it. We got to that 1 million, close to that 1 million in the third year. Which point in time, I was deeply troubled. I was excited but also troubled. I was troubled because I could not explain why was this happening. Because if you can't explain it, you can't replicate, you can't bottle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought, is it strange that it is only happening in sales and it is, can it happen elsewhere? I tried it in other parts of the business, including functions like the legal function. And extraordinary results we were beginning to see. And then in one of those moments, the penny dropped for me. And there was almost a eureka moment to understand why was this happen. And it was a thought experiment which led to that. It says, what might have happened if instead of that number of 500,000 which came in my mind, if I had started off with 50,000? It's still a stretch number. So how would the conversation have been with the sales director at that moment? If I had said 50,000, he would have said, Nitin, no, we've only done 2025. He'd probably have shown me last 5 years of data.
Yeah.
And we would have negotiated.
Yeah.
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 He would have produced data, he would have negotiated, we would have
Yeah.
probably settled for 35, 40,000 as a target. He would have walked out convincing me that that 40,000 is a stretch target. And he would have walked out feeling deeply uncomfortable because he has no idea how he's going to get there.
Yeah.
So, feeling that his boss has done him in, the boss has been unreasonable, this is a ridiculous now. Would he have been wrong if he had felt like that?
No.
No, not at all wrong.
Not at all.
He'd never crossed 2025. Suddenly a number like 40
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
it was. He would have.
Yeah.
So the question is, he negotiated because he was he didn't know how to get there. But one thing didn't happen when we started off with 500,000. Negotiation didn't happen.
You can't negotiate.
What will you negotiate?
नहीं 450 से आगे.
400, 450, 300. But also as stupid as 500.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it didn't happen. Now, why does someone negotiate 50,000 but not 500,000? Because 50,000 is in the same paradigm of achievement. 500,000 is a wholly different paradigm. No one's expected to hit that 500,000. At 50,000, he was expected to hit that 1,000. He didn't know how to hit it. And you're afraid of failing. And it is that fear of failure which gets you to start negotiating things.
Yes.
But at 500,000, there is no fear of failure.
Yeah. You break through that.
There is no fear of failure. No one expected you to get there.
Get what you're saying. Yeah.
But something else happens. If the conversation at that moment is, let's try and do something that no one has attempted to do before.
Yeah.
Now, is that, what sort of emotion is that? That's an uplifting emotion. No one's attempted it, we are going to give it a shot. That's an exhilarating emotion, that's an uplifting emotion. And in that state, you get creative juices, you get collaboration. That's what happens. But when you have fear of failure, that's a debilitating emotion.
Yeah.
Now, you can't get breakthrough in that state of mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the big thought which was happening. And then there was things, so if that's what it is, there was a massive human. Why were people so excited? Because people love to work towards, everybody wants to be a hero. I don't know anyone who doesn't want to do heroic things.
Yeah.
But when normal targets we set, we don't even give people the chance to do heroic things.
Absolutely.
So, in some ways, because we operate in this manner, we never work out on this 500,000. We never even test the depth of potential that each one of us have.
Absolutely.
So these were the same guys. Because we transported ourselves into a different space, we operated differently, and the same team, all of us, produced outcomes which were exponentially different. Showing how much more capacity and potential we have only if we were willing to try and not afraid of failing.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then in some ways I said, it is almost the obligation of the leader to help our team fulfill their potential. That's what a leader does, help you get there. And then it's an obligation to create a mismatch between ambition and resource. Because if there is no mismatch between ambition and resource, there is no reason for you to test the depth of what you're capable of. So that was my first big insight.